Alright guys, so today we are going to talk about Excel functions, and specifically we're going to talk about the Vlookup function. If you don't know what this function is, it is absolutely amazing and it is so powerful and useful. So let's start talking through it. So the Vlookup function is basically a way to find a value from an Excel table based on some piece of information. So usually we'll use this if we have two different tables of information and we're trying to get a piece of information from one table into the other. Okay, so we're going to talk about this more in an example, but I want to go ahead and give you guys the full syntax list and the rundown. So the syntax is equals VLOOKUP, open parentheses, and then it has four arguments. The first one is the lookup value. And this is the key that you want to base your search on. So this is something in the table that you're working in that you want to go find. Then the second argument, table array, this is the table to go look in. So the lookup value, you have to be able to find it in the first column of that table. All right. Again, we'll talk about all this more as we look at the table, or as we look at an example. So then the third argument is the column number. This is starting from 1, which column do we need to find our value in? And then the last one, range lookup, this is kind of a complex one. It's whether you're looking for a number within a certain range or if you want a specific value. For the most part, I'd say 9 times out of 10, you're using the specific value, which means you're just entering the argument of false. Okay, so the example we're going to look at, we have two tables. All right, we're going to have a product information table and a customer order information table. And what we need to do is we need to get the unit weight and unit price information from the product table into the customer order table. Okay, so let's go take a look at what we have here. So here is our product information table. You can see we've got a product ID, so that's a unique code for each of our products. You've got a name, it has a weight, and it has a price. Okay? And then over here we've got an order table. And we've got two orders, 11023 and 11024. Alright? And each of these orders has a couple different products that are being purchased. And we're told the quantities as well. So now what we need to do, and obviously this is just a very first step if we were working on this as like a bigger problem. But we'll see that more maybe in other videos. So the first thing, we need to get the unit weight. So this is where we're going to use VLOOKUP. So we click on that first cell that we want. And I'm going to type it up here. You can type it in the cell itself, but I'm using this so you can see it a little better. So this is equals VLOOKUP, open parentheses, and the first argument is the lookup value. So what do we, that's kind of like the key. That's the piece of information in this table that we need to find in the other table. And that's the product ID, right? In order to get the weight, we have to know the product ID that we're getting. All right. So now the next argument after our comma is the table array, right? And that question is, well, what table has the weights? And that would be the product information table. Now, you can technically do this, right? Click and highlight the list of rows that you have right there. Right? I've highlighted just that table, just what's there. That's great, but what if I wanted to add a new product? What if I wanted to use line 31 as a new product? Well, then this formula wouldn't work anymore. So here's what I usually do. I usually only put one table in a set of columns. Okay? And now, if you watch that, let me show you again. I highlight the whole columns, the set of columns, A through D. All right, and now If you look, it's going to highlight, it's looking in all of these other cells. So that means if I add a new row, it totally doesn't matter. It's still going to be able to find it. All right? Again, that's not required, but it makes things a lot easier if people wish to change things, which I can promise you they always want to change things. Okay? Our next argument, the column index number. So this is the column that we want to get the information from. So for this first piece, we need the weight. So if we count product ID is 1, product name is 2, weight is 3. So the unit weight is 3. And then range lookup, we want the exact match, so we type false, close parentheses, and hit enter. Now, let's go see, was that right? 8.56 pounds. So this product ID 586135 is right here. Okay, so this blanched mustard mushrooms. And indeed, it is 8.56 pounds. Alright, so now we've got that, and we can actually, if you're familiar with this little green square here, you can double click that, and it automatically copies the formula down for you. So now we know the unit weight for all of these products. Alright, now we need the unit price. So I'm going to type it all up again just so we get more practice, right? So what are we looking up? We need to find the product ID, right? We're looking for the price of a product. So we're looking up the product ID. What table? Well, columns A through D. Then the next question, the column index, right? We need price. So that's product ID, product name, weight, price. So that's column 4. Column 4, and then our last argument, we want the exact match, so that's false, and we hit enter. Let's go see. 58.99 blanched mustard mushrooms are indeed 58.99. So we can double click that, and we now have the unit price of all of our products. So in other videos, we can see then how we can use this information to get things like a customer's total order price or things like that. But for now, we're just focused on the VLOOKUP and using this function to find information from one table and transfer it to another. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time.